Hey, good morning, guys. Glad you guys all could be here. Appreciate you getting up early to do this webinar with us. Looks like some of you are probably new and haven't done one of these webinars with us before, so let me kind of go over what's going to happen. I'm just going to go through our presentation. Today we're going to be talking about posting. We're going to be talking about going through your setup system menu. You guys should be able to all hear me. However, I cannot hear you. So at the end, once I've done the presentation, I'll take questions. You should all have a little chat box on your screen that you can type a question and send it to me that way. So once I get done, we should probably have 15 or 20 minutes left to kind of go over questions, and I'll be happy to answer as many of those as I can for you. A lot to cover in today's webinar, so let's go ahead and get started. As I said, we're going to talk about the system settings menu here. So let me get logged in, and we'll get started. All right, so as you all should know, to access your settings, you're going to go to the admin link, click on settings, and then you have a list of all of the different settings pages here. We're going to just try to run through these. Some of them we won't spend much time on. Some others we'll spend a little bit more time on. School information, pretty obvious. This is just your school's contact information, address, city, phone numbers, websites, emails, things like that. This information would show up on a lot of your reports. Like if you decided to print out a statement, it would have the school's name and address and all that, so that's why it's important to fill this out. Moving on, report notes. See a lot of schools who don't use these or the email notes, and these can both be very handy. A report note would just simply be a note that would show up at the bottom of a report when you printed it out. So for example, a statement note, when you print out a statement, this would show up at the bottom. So if you want to put a little reminder on people's monthly statement, maybe you have an event coming up you're trying to remind people about, you can come here, type it in. When you print that report note or when you print that statement out, it would be included. Payment terms will also be included on your statements. I believe the return policies are also. Confirmation notes would go along with the student confirmation, so when you're giving them a confirmation of their classes. Same with a registration note, and then the receipt note as well. So if you print out a receipt, this message is at the bottom. We have this coupon book note. Not many people use coupon books anymore. There's a tax credit note for some of our customers who are maybe in Canada who do tax credits. Basically, any of these notes you see, whatever you put will show up on those reports. I'm actually going to jump down to the email notes. Email notes are pretty much the same thing. Except instead of showing up on a printed statement, this would show up as the body of an email. So if you have an email that you send quite often, confirmations, registration, receipts is a big one. So if you have people calling in over the phone to make payments, you can simply email them a receipt. Whatever you have typed here is the body of that email. So pretty simple, but a handy tool that we see a lot of people who aren't using quite as much. All right, so let me back up and go back over the email setup. Okay, so we get probably half the questions we get are about email setup and email setup problems. All the email setup, this is where you're going to come to set up the email for your school so that you can email directly through the program. The way this works, and what a lot of people don't realize, is when you send an email through a program like DanceWorks, or basically any third-party program like your cell phone or Outlook, what those programs do is we take these settings that you see on your screen, we connect to that email provider server. So actually in this example that would be Gmail server. We pass that email message over to them. When they accept it, that's when you see the little message that says email sent successfully. They actually do the sending. All we're doing is handing it off. So if you get an error message back, that's the message that that provider is sending us, and we just display it on the screen to let you know what's going on. Typically with your email setup, you can Google these settings. The important things here are your SMTP server setting, the username, which is usually either just the first half of the email address or the entire email address, the email password, the outgoing port number, which in Gmail's case is 465, and then this email group size setting. This comes set at 50. I would probably recommend lowering it down to 20 or 25, as you see here. This is also where you set up your email signature. So if you want a signature to show up at the bottom of your email, you can set it up here and choose to include it when you're sending emails. When you finish putting in all your settings, all you have to do is hit this Test Settings button. And it should tell you whether it's set up correctly or not. There we go. And then make sure you hit Save. So pretty simple stuff. Again, usually you can Google your settings. Usually all you have to do is put in your email provider's name and put email settings or SMTP settings, and you can usually find it pretty easily on Google. All right, so let's jump down to the school defaults now. If you guys had the desktop version of DanceWorks, these defaults pages will look pretty familiar to you. If you're new to DanceWorks at all, though, you may not know exactly what's going on here. So first thing is the registration charge setup. This allows you to kind of customize your registration fee based on the number of students. So basically you just put in each box what you would charge for that particular student. So in this case, students number 1 and 2 would both be charged $10. Each student after that would be charged $5. So theoretically, if they registered 6 students, this would cost them $40. Don't really see that a lot. Typically what we see, a lot of you guys seem to charge maybe $25 for student 1. And if they have multiple students, you just charge $40 no matter how many there are. So in that case, you would just do 25, 15, and then zeros. So anything more than 2 students would charge them $40. You have your tuition discount method here. This is an older way of doing this. We actually have put in a new way, but I'll talk about that in just a minute. Basically, if you have, this is used if you give a multi-student discount, and you can attach it to both students on the account or just the second or third students. Schools tend to do that different ways. Nonetheless, you can choose to do it by percentage or by a specific dollar amount. All you got to do is click the radio button and then put in the amount that you'd like. And then let me show you how to attach it. So if you have an account that's got multiple students and you want to use that discount, you're going to go on the actual student page and you'll check this box right here. You'll need to hit the edit button, which will let you do that. Check the box and then hit save. So you can either apply that to the second and third and fourth child, or you can do it to all the children on the account. And that will cause that discount to be calculated into their tuition. All right, let me get back. Okay, late charge method, again, dollar amount or percentage. You can set that up however you'd like. You have the option to display account or student totals. What this is, let me kind of give you a little background here. If you look at your account list or your student list and you scroll all the way down to the bottom of it, you'll see this total here, total accounts, and then there's one on the student page as well. The desktop version of DanceWorks has this also. And a long time ago, we had schools that were afraid that a parent would be standing at their desk while they're paying or something and see that total and start doing the math in their head. Oh, they have 500 students and I'm paying $500 a month in tuition, and they just start saying, well, this school's making tons of money. Why am I paying so much? So they asked us to be able to hide that. So if you want to hide those totals, all you got to do is check that box, and on the account list and the student list, you won't see the total anymore. People with DanceWorks Online, for some reason, seem less worried about it. So not a lot. I don't see a lot of schools using it, but you do have the option. Okay, statement type and statement format. These are just the default settings. So whatever you have it set up here is how the statements will appear. Now, when you actually go to print one out or email them, you can change the settings, but this is just the default. Here, this is defaulted to show all the charges and payments. You also have the choice to show just open charges and payments, so a charge that something you've charged them for that they haven't paid in full, or vice versa, a payment that they've made that hasn't been applied to anything. Or you can choose just to send them the open charges. Over here you have the option of running balance, item balance, and then also to include the student's name on the statement. Don't know why you wouldn't want to do that. Printing or receipt printing options. So if you guys use a receipt printer, the little narrow spool type receipt printer, this is where you choose that. If that's the kind of receipt printer you use, you'll choose 40 column. If you use a standard 8 by 11 type paper printer, you're going to choose 80 column. After you make any changes on these screens, make sure you hit save so that your changes take effect. Okay, discounts. I said earlier that the multi-student discount that I was showing you was an older way of doing that. About 2 months ago, maybe a little bit longer, we added this discounts page in for you. With this discounts page, you can create just about any type of discount you want and kind of customize it to what you want to do. It's very simple. You just simply hit the Add New Discount button, type in a description. I'm just going to call it a test discount. You can tell it what type of charges you want it to apply to. So if you just want it on a specific type of charge like tuition or costume or something along those lines, you can choose that, or you could also do all. You choose whether you want a dollar amount or a percentage. We'll say 15. This option allows you to actually change the discount amount when you're actually applying it to a student or an account. I'm going to leave that off, but if you're choosing a dollar amount, that's a good, that might be a good idea because it might be some sort of discount where you're changing on a case-by-case basis. But for now, I'm going to leave it unchecked. Just hit Add Discount, and then that will add it to your list. So if you're on an account or a student and you want to give them that discount, let's say you did a multi-student discount, you would come right here where it says Discounts and just scroll down, and you just choose it from the list. There's ours, and hit the Add Discount button. Let's say you did give it the option to be able to change the amount. Once you have it, you would just come here. There would be if it's changeable, there should be an edit button. You just click the edit button, and then you can change the amount. Now, here's the catch. If you add this to the account page, the discount's going to apply to any student on that account. So if you want it to apply just to a specific student, then you need to add it to the student page, which, again, it's in the exact same spot. If you go to the student name, just scroll down, and it's right here. And then, again, all you got to do is hit Add Discount, and you're ready to go. And there's our edit button right there that I was talking about. So if you wanted to change the amount, you could come in, $10, update, and you're done. And now that discount would only apply to this particular student. So gives you options, gives you a lot more options as far as the types of discounts you can set up, different ways. You can choose specifically who it's going to apply to. Should make things a little bit easier. I think that's better than the other way of doing it, but that other way is still always an option. Okay, account defaults. And I know I'm moving through these quickly, but there is just kind of a lot to cover. And some of them are going to get more detailed, so I'm trying to move through some of the easier ones a little bit more quickly. Okay, account defaults. So these are the default options that are going to appear when you create a new account. Here at the top, where it has the default values for the account, all these are the default city, state, and zip code. Whatever you have here, when you create a new account, is automatically going to appear as their city and state and zip. And you can leave them blank, or you can fill them out completely. Some people just leave the city out, but they'll have the state. It's up to you. If most of your people are all coming from the same city, then you might as well fill it out. Just makes a little bit less typing for you when you're creating new accounts. Now that being said, let's say you have a city in there and you create a new account, you certainly can change it. All you'd have to do is type right over it. But this just provides a way for it to automatically fill out some of that information. State, typically for you guys, is going to be the same for everyone, unless maybe you live right on the border. Zip codes may be very different, or you may have where the first 2 or 3 digits are always the same, and it's just the last 2. That's why you see only 3 numbers typed there. So with that, when you're creating a new account, you just go ahead and put in the last 2 digits. Same with the area code. It's just a default area code. You may or may not want to use that with so many people just having their cell phones now, especially if you're in a big city. You may have tons of different area codes, so it's up to you. But you can fill it out, and when you create a new account, it will be entered there for you. If you're wondering what the entry mask is, it's basically just the telephone format. Obviously, here in the U.S., telephone formats are all the same, but there are some other options for our customers who are not in the U.S. Okay, account billing frequencies. This is a big one. These, aside from the tuition setup, this is probably the most important setting there is in your program as far as your billing goes. The billing frequencies just gives you different time frames that you can bill people. You have up to 9 options. Most everyone's going to have a monthly. Monthly is pretty standard. But from there, it seems like all the studios have different ways of doing it, and you can set these up to fit your studio's needs very easily. I'm just going to go in here and let's say edit an annual tuition. Now you can change the description, the multiplier, and the discount amount. But let me just kind of give you some background here. So the description is pretty easy. It's whatever you want it to be to describe that billing frequency for you. The multiplier is the most important thing. Now typically most schools, when they set up their tuition, they set it up based on a monthly amount. So when you look at someone's tuition on their screen, that's typically what they're paying per month. So when you set these billing frequencies up, all this multiplier are the number of payments in that payment period. So if they're paying their tuition annually and your school has a 10-month year, say your fall and spring run for 10 months, then your multiplier would be 10. Now, let's say you're doing it like a trimester plan and they're paying every 3 months. Then you would just take 10 and divide it by 3 and put that in as the multiplier. Or actually, if they're paying every 3 months, you would just make the multiplier 3. Now, again, you can do discount here based on the type of billing frequency they're using. You can do a specific dollar amount or percentage. Percentage tends to be the most popular choice there, but a lot of people, if you're going to pay your full year up front, would give you a discount, and that's how you do it. And what this does is when you go to bill the person and you charge tuition, it does the math for you. So if their tuition is, let's say, $50 for a month, and they're going to pay up front, when you hit that tuition charge button, it's automatically going to multiply it by 10 for you, so 500, and then give them the 10% discount. So basically, they'd end up paying $450, and it'll do the math for you. Keeps you from having to do it. The other reason it's important is you want to get the people who are paying up front or any other type of billing frequency off of your monthly, so that when you go to charge your monthly people every month, those other people aren't getting charged as well. So very important. For schools that give maybe some sort of scholarship, or if you have some sort of discounted tuition for hardship cases, You can use this for that as well. You see the scholarship one here, set up just like another, just like your monthly tuition, except you have a larger discount. Again, that discount can be whatever you want it to be. We see 25, 50, 75%, and you could have one for each. Maybe it's just maybe you have different levels of a scholarship. The good thing about that is it helps you track how much money you're giving out in scholarship discounts. So when it comes tax time, that's probably going to be important information that you can use maybe to save yourself a little bit of money come tax time. All right, account alert list. This is just an easy way to attach an important message that you want other people in the studio to see, other employees to see. So let's say this one here, cash only. So if someone's written you a couple of bad checks and you want all the other employees to know basically not to only accept cash from that person, you can attach that alert code on their account. When the person pulls up the account, it'll be right there. Source code is just a great way of tracking where your business is coming from. We've all been into a business and they ask you how you heard about them. Great way of keeping that up. So if you're in that habit of asking, you can actually attach this to new accounts. Beauty of this is, let's say you've run a magazine ad or something, or a newspaper ad, or a Groupon. As these people are coming in, if you're attaching this source code to their account, you can actually run a report down the road to find out how many accounts are coming from that source. So 3 months later, when the person at the newspaper is harassing you again to renew your advertising, you can look and say, oh, I got 3 accounts out of that. It really wasn't worth it. Or, I got 50 accounts, which is hopefully the case, and you'll know whether or not that was, that advertising was worth it. To add to either of these lists, very easy. You simply just hit the add button, type in whatever you want it to be. Hit save, very simple. Then when you're done, just hit save at the bottom. You're going to probably get tired of me harping on that, but it happens all the time. So, all right, student defaults. Just allows you to set up basically a default list of schools, student skills, doctor list. Let me kind of show you, maybe for some of the newer people. So on a lot of these pages you're going to see on the account page or the student page, when you go in, actually I'm on the, student information. When you go in, you're going to see these drop-down menus, such as this. The skills are here. Works a little bit differently, but so you have a skill there. These drop-down menus are controlled through your defaults pages. So if you ever need to add something to a drop-down, maybe a new school or a new doctor, let me show you the doctors. Should be under medical. Edit. So if you need to add a doctor to the list, you do that through your defaults pages. So we're going to go back to admin, settings, student defaults. So all you got to do is click on the add button and it will allow you to add to that list. The student/account fee. Don't see a lot of people using this a ton anymore. Really the thing we see most people using it for that still use it. Some people, if maybe you charge a little convenience fee for offering recurring billing, that's what we see it for more than anything. Some schools charge a $3 or $4 fee basically to cover the cost of credit card processing for the recurring people. You can do that using the student/account fee. So once you have it set up, we'll just say that monthly billing fee. If you're on an account or a student page, you can attach it by coming right here. You just hit edit. and you could select that and hit save. Now when you go to charge them their monthly tuition, it will include this fee into that for you. I mean, you know, obviously you can use this for just about anything. I'm not personally a big fan of doing it for the convenience fee. Honestly, I think you're probably better off bearing that in their tuition costs rather than charging them an extra $5. I think people probably get annoyed with that. I think they'd rather just pay a higher, you know, $1 or $2 extra higher tuition than to do that. It's just one of those things to me that gets annoying. But nonetheless, that's where you set all this information up. You also have the option to either add all students or remove all students from recital participation. That option is there. If you ever need to update their grades, so their grade in school, or how long they've been with the studio, you can do that here, and it'll always show you the last time it was done. That way it doesn't get done twice a year or 2 or 3 times a year. Always show you the last time it's been updated. All you have to do is hit the Update Now button, and then it'll timestamp it for you. All right, class defaults. Pretty much the same as the student defaults. These are going to be where you control the drop-downs that are on the new class information page. So as you're adding a class, the different drop-downs you have to choose from are right here. This is just your default tuition. So this will, when you create a new class, whatever you have typed here will show up as the default. Now, again, it can be changed, but it will show up as you create a new account. So if 9 out of 10 of your classes are $20, then that a good place to put it so you're not having to type it so much. The default length, so you could set this. Typically, it's going to be 60 minutes. But so when you put in the time, it'll default the end. Let's say you put the start time at 4 o'clock and your default length is 60 minutes. It should automatically change the end time of the class to 5 p.m. for you so that you're not having to do it. The default maximum students in a class. This is your classroom list. So when you're adding a class, the little drop down that's got the list of rooms is right here. There's not any particular right or wrong way of naming the rooms. Numbers, letters, some schools have done colors. It's perfectly up to you. This is just the default way your class list is sorted. So this class list would be sorted by day and then by the name of the class. Then you have your class types. Then your class levels. Again, these are all just controlling those drop-down menus on those pages. And again, as you make changes, make sure you hit save at the bottom. Okay, tuition. This is a biggie. Try to cover as much of this as I can. This gets complicated, and I've probably talked to 1,000 customers and seen 1,000 different tuition setups. You guys are very creative when it comes to doing this, but let me just kind of give you an idea of how these are designed to work. The first thing here is the default calculation setting. So whatever you have set here, either by class, either table account, table student, time account, or manual, whatever you have selected there, when you create a new account, that's what that new account is going to pop up as. It would default, in this case, to class. So when you choose class, you're saying whatever the tuition I put in on that when I create a class, it's going to pull that. It's going to pull that number for you. Okay. Table. The two table options, whether it be student or account, are going to come right here off of this top table. The two time options will read this time table. And then finally, obviously, manual would mean you're putting it in on their account. The difference between student and account, so you see table student, table account. The difference between the two, table account basically treats multiple children on an account the same as an account with just one student. So it adds either their number of classes or their time together. So let's say I have an account with you and both of my kids are taking 2 classes each. If you charge by table account, it's going to add their number of classes together as 4. So they would be paying $108. That would be the same as one student taking 4 classes. So if you think about it, the difference there is if you treat them separately, they would be paying $58 each, which is $116. If you add them together, they're paying $108, so saving me $8. And that's the difference. Table account just adds all, basically treats all the students on an account as one student when it comes to their tuition. Same with the time, it would just add their time together. This table is pretty self-explanatory. It just goes off strictly off the number of classes that they're taking. This really only works well if your classes are all the same length, or you just happen to charge the same amount for all the classes despite the length of the class. But nonetheless, you're saying one class is $30, two classes is $58, three classes is $85. So if they enroll in three classes, they're paying $85. Tuition time goes off the total amount of time that the student's taking. So if they're taking 4 hours of class, they'd be paying $100 in this situation. Okay. The start and stop time, basically, it's going to start at 0. So in this goes in 0.25 increments. So 0.25 is equal to 15 minutes. 0.50 is 30 minutes. 0.75 is 45 minutes. So this is a 0 to 70 to 0.75 is a 45-minute class. This would be a 1 hour class, an hour and 15, hour and a half. If you do time and you offer 45-minute classes, you have to set this table up in 15-minute increments so that it accounts for all those little odd numbers you're going to get. Because if they take an hour class and a 45-minute class, they're going to end up with an hour and 45 minutes total. So you got to do it in 15-minute increments to catch all those little 15s. Otherwise, it's just going to round up to the next amount. So if you skip one and you do it in 30-minute increments, it's going to round down. So let's say you do this in 30-minute increments and they take 2 hours and 45 minutes worth of class. It's going to charge them for 2.5. So you guys would be losing money there. So you got to make sure that you do that. A lot of you guys do, once they get to a certain point, do an unlimited dollar amount. So once maybe they get to 4 or 5 hours or 7 or 8, depends on you guys, they pay a flat fee. You can do that a couple of ways. You can just cut it off at, let's say, 4.5, and anything above 4.5 would be $150. Or you could do it like this, where you put in some crazy amount of time that they'll never take, and anything in that range would get charged that amount. Let's see. And then this lets you recalculate everyone's tuition at the same time. Probably not going to use that a whole lot, I hope, but it's always there if you need it. And then finally, whatever you change, make sure you hit save at the bottom. Now, I've flown through these tuition settings. Don't expect you guys to remember it. If you're new and you have questions, call us. We can work with you. It's hard to get too far into detail with this stuff because you guys all do it so differently. And there's not really a one-size-fits-all for you guys. So if you have questions about your setup, again, give us a call or send us a support ticket. If you send us a support ticket, just make sure you include as much detail as you can so that we can try to answer it as easily as possible. But we'll be happy to answer any questions about the tuition. I understand that you may not completely get it. I wouldn't expect you to. You guys all do them so differently, it's hard to keep up. All right, so we're going to move along. Group codes. This is just an easy way to group people together. The example we see the most would be maybe competition teams. You see volunteers quite a bit. So if maybe you have parents who are volunteering for maybe a recital, they're volunteering to work a desk or something, or just help out in general. You can create these group codes and attach it either to a student or to accounts. To attach it to a student or accounts, very simple. Just like the other things I've shown you, pretty much you come right here and you can just select your code, volunteer, and just hit add. The great thing is you can actually run reports and print out a list of all those people. So if you need a list of your volunteers, you can come right here And you could actually choose, let's say you just wanted your volunteers. You can just pick that one and print it out. You can also email by group code. So if you go to, excuse me, if you go to your home page and hit send email, and you just want to email those volunteers, you just go to recipients, and then right here, you would just choose groups, and that would allow you to email just when you hit add to selected. That would let you email just those volunteers. So it makes it very easy for you. Great way putting those people together so that they're easy to keep in touch with and contact. Okay, charge codes. So this is just going to be things that you charge your customers on a regular basis. If you've entered a charge, you know that there's that drop-down menu there to where you select the type of charge you want. This is where you set that drop-down menu up, just like most of the other drop-down menus. To create a charge code, you're just going to hit add, put in a general ledger number, the description. If it's something that's pretty much always going to be the same amount, you just put in an amount, or you can leave it at 0 if you want to change it on a case-by-case basis. Choose a type, a tax type, and if you want it to be able to be paid online, just check that box, and then you'll hit save. If you guys use QuickBooks, then you're probably familiar with the general ledger number. In QuickBooks, there's an account for everything, and basically you just need to have a general ledger number that matches here that matches the general ledger numbers there. Doesn't matter if you change it in QuickBooks or if you change it here, they just have to match. The sales tax, if you guys are in places that do sales tax, this is where you can set that up. You can set up 2. So you have sales tax 1 and 2. You can put in the percentages you need, and then when you're in that doing that charge code, you can choose between either 1 or 2 or both, and set that up so that it charges the appropriate amount of sales tax. There was a compound there, but that really doesn't apply to most people here in the U.S. Okay, I just mentioned QuickBooks. If you use QuickBooks, this is where you're going to set up that accounting link. You have the general ledger numbers here. Again, these have to match what's in QuickBooks. It doesn't matter if you change it in QuickBooks or if you change it in DanceWorks. They just have to match. Then you'll just hit save. If you have questions about how to use QuickBooks, give us a call and we can kind of talk you through it. I don't want to spend too much time on it. Credit card setup. If you guys have an account with PowerPay, or you're considering getting an account with PowerPay, if you want to run credit cards through DanceWorks, you do have to have an account with them, but they will provide you this information. They'll give you a username and a password that basically just allows you to connect to their server. They'll give you a merchant number as well as a maximum charge amount. I don't really think there's any rhyme or reason to how do they determine that. But you'll put all that information in and choose the card types, and then hit save, and then you are set up for processing credit cards through DanceWorks. I think they typically come in and put that stuff in for you, but they may just provide it to you. If they provide it to you, this is where you're going to come to set it up. You can also put in your return policy right here, hit save, and then you are all set up and ready to go. All right, users and passwords. This is my pet peeve issue, so I'm going to get on my soapbox for just a minute here. You guys can create basically as many usernames as you need in DanceWorks Online. When you go to create one, obviously you'll put in a username, a password, an email address for that person, and then a display name. The display name is nothing more than what shows up at the bottom of the screen when they're logged in. So right here it says logged in as user. That's what's going to show up. So if you put Brett here, that's what would show up at the bottom. The reason I find this important is because when you create a username, you can control exactly what they have access to in the program. So you can take away their ability to get to certain things. Unfortunately, we have seen many schools lose a lot of customers, lose a lot of business, lose their business altogether because of something that could have been prevented using this type of feature. I mean, we've seen schools where teachers got mad. They've printed all their financial reports out. They've printed out their parent list. They've contacted all those parents. Hey, the school's about to go out of business. You should come dance with me over at this new school where I'm teaching. I would think that person's nuts, but it works. We've seen it happen. You can prevent it. All you got to do is set them up a username. A teacher has no business being able, rarely is ever going to need access to your financial reports. You know, things like that. If you have a volunteer that works at your desk, maybe a parent volunteer, you know, they don't need to be able to delete charges, things like that, because that happens too. You know, they delete the charges off their friends' accounts, so friends are saving some money. It's costing you money, though. So you can control those things. It's really easy to do. I see so many people that everybody in the school uses one username and one password. Drives me crazy. You can prevent people from costing you money using this. So please do. Like I said, all you got to do is put in a username, email address, all that, and then just check off the things that you want them to have access to. If you click Make Administrator, then they have access to everything. But you can just go through here and individually check off what you want them to have access to. Really easy to do. Policies. You know, you guys probably all have some sort of policy form that parents have to sign off on when they register each fall or whenever. You can put this online. You have 4 fields, 4 basically policy boxes here. Each one has its own little header. But these fields are pretty much unlimited. So if you have more than 4 policies, you can just double up if you need to, or put whatever you need to in there. If you have it in a Word document, just copy and paste it right out of the Word document right into here. Makes it very easy. When parents go to log in and access their account the first time, after they change their password, the very first thing they're going to have to do is agree to this policy agreement. Won't let them pass it unless they agree to it. Once they agree to it, it attaches it to their account so that you know they've agreed to it, and so that you can print it out if you ever need to. If they ever question something, you can say it was in my policy, and you can print it out where they signed it. It's really easy to do. So I would suggest using it. The other thing about it is if you ever make a change to it, when you hit save, it's going to give you 2 options. If you guys can hear the maintenance crew outside my window, I apologize. So when you go hit save, it's going to give you 2 options. You can just simply update it to where it's a minor, you know, maybe it's probably a minor change and you don't feel like they need to agree to it again. Maybe somebody called you and said, hey, did you realize you had this typo in your policy? Go in and fix it, hit update. Anyone who's already agreed to it doesn't have to agree to it again. But if you make a major change, maybe you add a policy or you change a policy and you want everybody to sign off on it again, all you got to do is hit update and require, and the next time they log in, they'll be required to agree to it again, and then they can move on. And they'll only ever have to re-agree to it when you click this box, or I'm sorry, when you click that button. So it makes it very easy for you to make any kind of policy changes and make sure everybody signs off on it again. All right, and then when you're finished, again, just hit save. Like I said, you're going to get this. I'm just going to hit update, and then I'm going to kind of gloss over these customer access settings. Next week's webinar, we're going to go back through these customer access settings and spend a little detail, get a little more detailed on it. Excuse me, I'm trying to get away from the window so you guys can actually hear me. But nonetheless, the customer access settings here are where you're going to come and where you can control exactly what the parents can and can't do online. This gives you the ability to customize what you allow them to do. If you don't want them to pay their bill online, or you don't want them to see their transactions, you can take that ability away. If you don't want them to edit their information, you can take that away as well. This screen is broken down into 3 different settings pages. You have your general settings. This is where you're going to find the important links for your school. So this is actually your parent login link. This would be just for new people, for existing people. If you want to change the way the links are worded on the customer login page, you can do it here. It's where you change your temporary password and so on and so forth. The Create Account Settings page, which is for brand new people creating accounts. This is where you control what you require of them to fill out, because if they're brand new, you're not going to have any information on them, and they're going to have to fill it all out. So you can control exactly what they have to fill out before they submit their registration. If you require it, it won't let them submit without it. It's pretty easy. If it's green on this screen, it means it's required. If it's yellow, it means they can see it, they can fill it out, but they don't have to. If it's red, they don't see it at all, so they don't even have the option to fill it out. Finally, existing account settings. These are the settings for your people who you already have information on. Maybe they've activated an account. So it works a little bit differently. So since you already have their information, you can't really require things from them. But what you can do is, if it's green for them, that means they can go in and edit the information themselves. So maybe their phone number changes. They could go in and change that. Same with the credit card. If their credit card expires or they lose their debit card and get a new one, they can go in and change that themselves without having to call you. If it's yellow, it means they can see it, but they cannot edit it. If it's red, they can't see it at all. But we will go through this a little bit more in detail next week. Again, both of our webinars next week will be on this very thing. So you'll have 2 times to catch that. We'll do one on Wednesday morning at this same time, and then we'll do one again on Friday afternoon. So give you a couple of different time options for what you want to attend. Okay, I'm pretty much done. I know that was long-winded, a lot to cover there, but we still have about 15 minutes for any questions you guys have. Again, you have the little text box there. You should be able to, if you have any questions, you should be able to type it in and send it to me, and I'll kind of just go over everybody's questions as they come in. So feel free. We got, like I said, about 12 more minutes that we can do questions for. All right, looks like nobody's got any questions today. I'll tell you what, I'll give you just another minute just to make sure I'm not missing anybody. Okay, looks like you guys don't really have any questions today. If you do come up with something, obviously feel free to give us a call, or you can actually go and send us a support ticket right here. Go to your help menu, submit support ticket, and you can just put that information in and send it to us. Please be detailed as you can. There's always going to be situations where we need to ask you questions, but sending us a ticket that says you have questions doesn't really help us a whole lot. And yes, I have gotten that very ticket. So anything you got, don't be afraid to be detailed. The more detail you can send us, the more we can help you out. Or just give us a call. We'll be happy to help you that way. I appreciate everybody coming out this morning. Again, next week's webinar will be on the customer access settings. There will be 2, so you can choose which time works best for you. Should be getting an email about that hopefully on Monday night. And then we should have the rest of our webinar schedule hopefully up on our website probably Monday as well. So you guys have a great day. If I don't talk to you today, have a great weekend. And actually, tell you what, Labor Day's next week. You probably won't get that email on Monday. Probably be on Tuesday. But you guys have a great Labor Day weekend.